Hello, my name is Tim, the Tabletop Optimist, and I would like to welcome you to From Level 1 to Now, a series where I talk to interesting people in the TTRPG community, hoping to learn more about them and discuss how we can all make a positive impact on the community. Every interview, I'll find out how they started out to where they are now. So let's find out some awesome things about some awesome people together. Before I introduce our guest, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it is the best way to support my channel. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by YuriandtheBeast. Yuri is an actual play performer and GM. She's also a writer currently working on her own high fantasy story, and when they're not performing everywhere, they are playing a spellcaster in every video game they can. You can find Yuri in a variety of actual plays, and by variety, I mean a variety with a capital V, and on their socials with links provided below. So let's figure out how they went from level 1 to now. Thank you for joining me from level 1 to now. How's your day going?
I'm doing really good today. Very excited.
But yeah, so how I kind of start with all the interviews, I wanted to start. How did you start out in the TTRPG space, whether it's private or public?
I started privately a very long time ago. I always sort of hesitate to date myself. Um, it's been about over a decade, maybe
Okay.
like 13, 14 years. Um, I started sometime around high school. I came across um, the books,
Hmm.
essentially. I thought it was really cool. I looked for people to play with. I come from a very small conservative town, little farming town in the middle of, can I curse here?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, California. And I always have to ask.
No
Um,
worries.
and so the only people that I could play with was just men.
Hmm.
Right? And I was, again, like really young in high school, and I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to play, and all they wanted to do, which is a super legit way to play if you want to do that, was just go around killing things. And, that wasn't
Hmm.
my idea of the game. And so it sort of put me off the game for a little bit. Um, I tried again and then had a horrible experience with just getting talked over and not getting to like do anything, and it's like, well, you're the girl, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
um which wasn't very good. I decided, you know what, I want to, because I love high fantasy.
Hmm.
I am a reader since I was able to read, and so epic fantasy like Lord of the Rings, The Wheel of Time, things like that. And I wanted to tell a story like that, and I decided it's not going to happen here. If I go look for another group, it's might be the same thing. So YOLO, I'm going to tell the story. And my first actual campaign I ever did was me DMing. I had to DM my own first campaign. And I am uh, an overachiever in every sense of the word. And so I gave my friends, I told them, you all like to read the same stuff I do. You're all going to love this. I am making you play with me. Here is 15 pages of lore. And I literally had, because back in the day, like you write everything out. And so I
Hmm.
had like binders, those big, like 3-inch ringed binders with like dividers. And it was like all the NPCs had their own page, the important ones,
Hmm.
the important locations. I hand drew maps for the main cities, for the continent. Like, I didn't know, because the first thing I saw was sort of the player book
Hmm.
for D&D. I didn't know modules were a thing. And so I ended up just making up making up a whole homebrew world because I didn't know there was an alternative. But it's what I wanted, so it worked out, and we ended up playing that for a long time. I decided I really, really like this. Also, being a DM is fun.
Hmm.
I get to, you know. do a whole bunch. And it sort of went on from there, getting into college. And I kept going. It was a little harder, schedules and people growing up. And from there, I went to smaller sort of campaigns, mini campaigns.
Mhm.
My thing then sort of slowly became teaching people how to play because people would be like, "Oh, you play D&D, that's so fun. Like it sounds so fun." I'm like, "Oh, you've never played it. Let me teach you. Let me introduce you. Come here." And I would drag people and just bring them over to the dark side, and that became my favorite thing to do. And people would come up and ask me, and I loved it. I loved after making their character and playing that first session and then being like, I want to do this again, or them being like, well, what happens next? What do we do? Like what happened to them? And that just brought me so much joy. That is sort of what I kept doing. Eventually started getting paid for it privately.
Mhm.
Game stores, Facebook groups, like local Facebook groups that were like, hey, me and my group of friends want somebody to teach us how to play, stuff like that. Um, and it sort of went on from there. I didn't join the AP community until May of last year.
Oh wow. So it had a lot of history already with it.
Yeah, I had been playing for about a decade before I joined APs. Yeah. And a lot of people think I've been doing APs for longer than I have. Um, but I think it's because I started, hit the ground running, and then snowballed really hard,
Mhm.
really fast, and just haven't stopped. So I've done a lot in a very short amount of time.
What made you finally decide to like, hey, I want to do this in front of people aside from just your table?
So again, being from a very small rural town, technology sort of came
Mhm.
5, 7 years after it did for everyone else. And I didn't know APs were a thing.
Okay.
Um, like computer access, stuff like that was a lot more restrictive um, in my little town, right?
Mhm.
And it wasn't until after I moved to Los Angeles for college, and even then, closer to, I think I was doing my graduate degree. So I'd already been here for a while when on those Facebook groups, because I wanted to build some sort of community, I wanted to keep playing essentially. And after undergrad, it was hard to find people in person. I was like, okay, we'll try this online thing. I was not an online person
Mhm.
at all. Like social media, the internet, none of that really. And I decided I want to find people to play with. And I went online. Some of the Facebook groups were like, hey, we're going to record ourselves playing, post it up on the internet. And I was like, people do that? Like, that's insane. And that wasn't until like 2021, maybe, that I saw it
Mhm.
for the first time. 2022. It hasn't been a long time. And it blew my mind. I was like, that is a thing that people do. That is so cool. That is insane. Then I started watching APs. You've got like high rollers from the UK, Critical Role, Dimension 20, all of those. Um, and then I saw one day on a Facebook group, somebody had reposted a casting call from Roll D5. It's like, hey, um, I'm too shy to do this and I don't have a webcam anyways, but I thought some of you, would be interested. I saw this um in part of another group that I'm a part in, just wanted to share it here. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. And then I was like, YOLO, we're doing it. Worst case scenario, nothing happens. You know what I mean? Things stay the
Mhm.
same, which is fine by me, because if I don't do it, things stay the same, right? I don't lose anything. And so I filled it out and then panicked when a week later I get an email from Worldy 5 with um like, hey, here is like our rules and guidelines, like you signed up for this game. We're going to schedule session 0, and I was panicking so hard. Um and then on, I believe it was May 20th, it was a game of, what was the game? It was a game made by somebody in in the TTRPG community. Um and I didn't know how any of it worked.
Mhm.
I had a camera, I had a shitty USB mic, and again, just panicking. I was like, a session 0, right? Absolutely. Then they're just going over the guidelines and, okay, like we're gonna start, and then you guys are gonna do your intros, and then all of this thing, then tell us where we can find you. And I was like, okay, okay, I need to figure all of this out. What am I gonna say? I'm gonna write it down beforehand because I don't want to panic in the moment. And it went great. It was really fun. My partner watched it on Twitch, and Covenant Crucible. That's the name of the game. Sorry, my brain.
Oh, no worries.
Um, my partner watched it on Twitch. They were like, "Oh, you couldn't even tell that you were nervous." But my hands, I'm so glad that you can't really see them, because I was just shaking the entire time. Afterwards, it was just like adrenaline is what I realized it was. It feels like when you get asked to like do public speaking in school. It's like,
Mhm.
all right, do your presentation. That's what it felt like. But I was like, that was fun. That was a rush. I kind of liked it. And after Roll D5, I got asked to be part of 2 ongoing campaigns. One of them being Philly by Night by Aaron My Laundry of the TTRPG Collective. And I was like, yes, I I feel like I should tell you this, but I don't know what I'm doing. I've never played Vampire the Masquerade either. I didn't know there was other TTRPGs. I didn't know people recorded themselves and put it on the internet. It was like a world just sort of exploded up in front of me, and there was suddenly so much. I dove right in, but I was on 42. Nope, that's the name of the games. I played 42 different TTRPGs across 27 different channels. Um, in my first uh by the end of 2024, so by New Year's,
Oh, wow.
which is insane considering I started May 20th, so at the end of May. And I haven't slowed down and I haven't stopped. And it sort of became a personal goal of mine. I love finding new TTRPGs to play. I love playing with new people, because I was a forever DM before I entered the AP space. And so getting the chance to play so many different things has been so much fun. And so getting different people to run games for me, because everybody runs games so differently.
Mhm.
Um, and so I've had so much fun. People have asked me, why don't you play so much? Why don't you make your own channel? One, I still don't know how to technology. So there's that. Uh, Two, I would probably end up running most of those games, right?
Mhm.
And I still run all of my learn to play games that I love doing. and I still run a home campaign. And after over a decade of being a forever DM, I'm really enjoying playing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, so now I just bully my friends into letting me play with them on their channels, and it's been a hoot.
But yeah, after kind of like over a decade of playing, and you said you started of May of 2024
24.
of actual
Yeah.
playing, with like a year of actual play under your belt and like over a decade of with over a decade of running games. If you could go back to when you first got the books to your like level 1 self, what would you tell yourself that you know now?
I would honestly just speed it along, but I would do the exact same thing. I would tell my level 1 self, hey, you can do it, and not only can you do it, but you're gonna enjoy it. So just stop thinking about it so hard and doubting yourself so much and just fucking do it. Um,
I
I
get that a
think
lot.
that is, yeah. And I think it's something too that I have built over time, and something that I think not just actual playing, but even before that, just DMing
Hmm.
has taught me is to be more confident, especially because I play with a lot of new players. They don't know if I'm messing up. If I don't do a rule right and I
Hmm.
have to look it up later, all right, I know it now. They don't know that I didn't know it before, right? And even with experienced players, if you do something confidently enough, it just sort of works. Um, and being in that seat, where everything is sort of up to you, has taught me so much and has really, really built on just my confidence as a person. And it has led to so many changes, such a domino effect in my day-to-day life.
Hmm.
It's if I hadn't done DMing for so long and built up that confidence in myself, I don't think I would have just been like, "YOLO, let's do an actual play thing. Let's fill out this casting sheet." And I wouldn't be here just talking in front of a camera to high school me, middle school me. I could never, right? But I love it now so, so much. And any chance I get to yap in front of a camera, I will do it, which is absolutely insane. Um, so 100%, I would, that is the only thing I would do, but I don't think I would change anything else.
And I think that's a lot of issues that people have, and that's one thing I'm trying to get people to understand, that in
Hmm.
order to run the game or even play the game, you really don't need to know everything. It's like there are so many times where players ask me to do something, and I was like, okay, well, let me look up the rule real quick to see it. But if it takes longer than, for me, if it takes longer than like a minute or a minute and a half, I'm just going to go with whatever I think is going to fit right in the moment, and then let the player know
Hmm.
I'm going to look this up. And if we have to make any changes, then we will. But if we like the rule more than what the actual rule is, then we'll just keep with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something that is, it's so important because, yeah, there's a rule book, but even the D&D Game Master's Guide says at some point it is rule 0
Mm-hmm.
of the Game Master's Guide, and it is these are a framework for your game. Ultimately, you have final say of what happens at your table.
Yeah. And
And it becomes exactly what you said, where you're allowed to make those rulings in the moment and look it up later. If you don't like it, you change it. If you don't know it, do something for right now, figure it out later, keep the game going, right? You don't need to know absolutely everything about a game before you run it.
played a lot of games. So, not if you have like a couple examples, that's perfectly fine. But and this is one of my favorite questions to ask. But what is a moment in a game that you will always remember?
First time I cried on screen. It was very memorable. I was trying so hard not to, and it wasn't memorable for me just because, like, oh no, single
Mhm.
tear, dripping down the cheek in a very dramatic way. But it was when I realized what role-playing games could be.
Mhm.
Everything I've done very lighthearted stuff. I have people who love the really gritty, no, we're tracking encumbrance, we're tracking water and food. And I'd played with so many different types of players, but it was definitely something different playing with people who role play like that is what they do. They
Mhm.
act, they role play, and getting swept so hard in a narrative to where you have a physical reaction to it. I don't think I had ever really experienced something like that
Mhm.
or like bleed and things like that up until that point. Um when I was like, "Oh, my eyes really got teary-eyed." Like I know this is a game, but it's like but I still felt so sad. It was a game of I think it was, Kids on Bikes, might have been,
Okay.
um, so we were all kids,
Mm.
which made it even more sad, and I thought, like, "Oh, like, that's a bad thing, like, I should try not to do that," and I told, like, my friends, who are also in the TTRPG space, and one of them was like, "Bruh, I cry all the time." Like, it's so cathartic
Mhm.
to be able to feel strong emotions in a safe place, right? Um, it is something now that I sort of seek a little is I have shifted to playing very emotional characters. I
Mhm.
love sad stories. I love bittersweet stories. 10 Candles, things like that with doomed narratives where things are going to get real hard at the end and sort of coming in knowing that. Um, and then allowing yourself to go through that emotionally when you know that nothing is actually going to hurt you IRL
Mhm.
has become so cathartic and very enjoyable for me. Um, and I think it has also helped my storytelling a lot. Now, even in my silly games, my normal D&D games, my home games, all of the NPCs and all of these characters feel so much more real and fleshed out because of that. So I think it's something that has also sort of helped me a lot in a lot of other ways. It's also cheaper than a therapist, so there's that.
I know, and it's I've always been like a pretty emotional person. But like having those moments where you can just cry, and it's become, I don't know what's going on, but it's become way more often for me, especially when watching like TV. Um, it just feels good after. Like it really does. It feels like there's like a chemical rebalancing of your brain after you've cried. And
Mm,
hey, maybe that's what it is. But it makes
maybe.
you feel so much like lighter. It makes you feel like you needed to get that out.
Yeah, and I think especially coming from a very traditional, very conservative household like I did, where showing emotion is bad.
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to stay composed. You have to stay, you know, be demure and all that kind of thing. It just became a really freeing thing of no, I'm allowed to feel these feelings
Mm-hmm.
and it's justified and it's okay. Which is a whole other thing. And again, cheaper than therapy. So
Now I want to ask a couple of questions about the projects that you are currently in and kind of like what drew you to GMing. I think you kind of answered some of the questions a little bit earlier about your love of high fantasy or wanting to tell the story. Um, but what did draw you to GMing? Was it just wanting to kind of create the stories and the worlds that you really enjoyed?
sort of. So I conservative traditional family.
Mhm.
My escape when I was young, because I was put sort of, here's this little box. You have to fit inside of it or else, right? And my freeing escape was the library. I became a bookworm so early, literally as soon as I could read. By the fourth grade, the librarian knew me by name, and she had books picked out for me and recommendations. And because I was
That's
there so
awesome.
often, I spent recess, my elementary school years, spent recess in the library reading or in the classroom reading. I did not play outside. I did not have a lot of friends when I was little. Um, and it originally it was sort of like a oh like I would imagine myself in the stories, or it's like, well, if I had been the heroine, I would have I would have done this instead or done that. And then it became a when I grew older of I could write my own stories. And that's awesome. And then I discovered D&D, and it was like I could force my friends to live these stories with me. And it's like we could play them out like we would play dolls, essentially, but
Mhm.
on a grander scale. Um, and and it sort of started off as escapism for me, and just, you know, yeah, creating those stories that at first stories that I had imagined uh when I was younger, right? And then just devolved into something that was fun. And every time we did something, I got another idea for something else that we could do. And I would jot all of these down and I'd be like, all right, good, we're done with this one. I have the next three like prepped. Let's go. Um, and I am actually currently working on writing a high fantasy novel, um, as well, because I realized like why not do both?
Yeah.
Sort of live my stories
Hmm.
and make them for other people to live them as well.
What is the inspiration for the character Quill in Superhero Shenanigans, and what is something that has came out during the game that you did not anticipate when you were crafting the character?
Oh my God. I think it's so funny that you ask about that specific character, considering how many I've played in this space, because they were my answer to wanting to do something different.
Hmm.
I love me a high elf wizard, and I love video games as well. And
Hmm.
so in a video game, if I can be mage, I will mage. If I can magic in some way, I will magic. Um, if I can be an elf, I will elf, you know? And that is my go-to for everything. Uh, and so Quill, for superhero shenanigans, which is a mutants and masterminds RPG, and it's very superhero based. Again, I come from high fantasy, epic fantasy. Not really know a whole lot about superheroes, and I was like, well, because I don't know a lot about it, I want to do it. I want to try it out. It's something new. It's something different. and I said, okay, I'm trying out a game that is very different from what I usually do. So I want to make a character that is very different from what I usually do. And can you magic in Mutants and Masterminds? Yes. But I said, I'm not going to do that. Okay. For the first time in my life, I am going to make um someone who is a melee fighter. You wouldn't catch me anywhere closer than mid-range in anything. I
Hmm.
prefer to be as all the way in the corner just tossing fireballs into the room. Okay? And so I wanted to do something different and I wanted to challenge myself a little bit more. Playing mages and elves and always being somebody that is super like lore like loving, I decided to do the entire opposite. I am as Quill. Quill is from the planet Avis. I asked them if I could make an alien. I was like, I don't want to know anything about this world. And I want to learn it as I go because I've never done that. And so her real name or her full name is Kilekikiokali of the planet Avis. I just put a whole bunch of syllables that
Hmm.
sounded like bird, like bird speak, bird sounds. And I made her a martial melee fighter. Doesn't have a weapon. Use punches really hard. She has real sharp talons and wings. And is also not, she's smart. She's street smart and she's witty. She's not very intellectual and bookwormy, which is
Hmm.
again a very far rock throw from what I usually do. Um, and in a superhero game, which I've also never done. And it's been a blast. It taught me that not just can I do it? Yes. But it's also so much fun to try different things and to just go out on a limb and just, as again, dating myself here, just do it for the vine, you know?
No, I
And
get
that
that.
is like the core of her personality, is very curious and she doesn't understand social media, cell phones, she does not have one. What is this? What is that? The food is different. And part of it was she is not airheaded or dumb, but this is all genuinely new to her. And I thought of what her life would have been in Avis. What do bird people live like and do? And every time there is something that is different, I bring it up. And that has been so much fun. Um, Punching people is really fun. I have in my real life done like self-defense classes. I've done taekwondo and judo. And being able to bring some of that in and sort of get real crazy with the descriptions because I'm not just going to be like, oh yeah, I punch them. Like, no, I'm going to backflip, round horse kick this, like, and so doing that has been very fun. Um, so they are my thembo.
That's great.
Uh, it has been a blast and it has led to me doing that more often, where if I encounter something I've never done before, I'll just do it instead of going for the thing that I'm comfortable with.
Hmm.
Um, and so it has led to a lot of very unique and very fun characters that have brought a lot of perspective, um, a lot of respect for people who do that all the time, and a lot of fun.
Playing other characters is kind of going against what you're comfortable with is always fun. It's like playing is like kind of like a high level spellcaster, and then going into just like, well, I don't need books, I don't need any of this. I'm just going to go up there and punch some people. It's a very fun transition.
It definitely, like, forces you to change the way that you think. The way that you approach situations is
Hmm.
so different depending on what you do and what's in your toolkit. Um, and as a forever DM, I've done loads of those types of characters as NPCs, but it's
Hmm.
something entirely different from playing a character like that.
No, that's cool. And as you said, you were being a forever DM. I know you've played in a lot of games, but I'm kind of curious. What is a game that you have run that you think fits your GMing style the best?
I My first instinct is to say D&D because I've done it the longest,
Hmm.
and I've gotten to the point where I don't need the books, it's all up here, except for, like, that really obscure rule that I've never used before. And it's not the system itself, it is a combat system. It is made for big epic fights,
Hmm.
right? Can you storytell in it? Yes, absolutely. But the game was made for these epic fights,
Hmm.
right? And so it's not that it complements my GMing style the most, because I am ultimately a storytelling GM before I am a combat GM. But because I've known it for so long, inside, outside, upside down, and right side up, it is the one I'm the most comfortable with fucking around with. I now, with 14, 15 years of D&D, I'm able to be like, this is the kind of story I want to tell, and make it work without too much effort, because I know it so well, right?
Hmm.
And so if you asked me, hey, can you run a game for us? Just, this is the type of game we want. And it was like an impromptu thing, I would choose D&D, because I have gotten to the point where I can mold it to whatever I need it to be. As a system, I know for 100% there is another system out there that would complement the way I tell stories um a lot better than D&D does. It's just D&D is the one that I'm the most comfortable with,
Hmm.
like I said, fucking around with. Um I love narrative games. I also really like crunchy games. I know a lot of people in the space are like, rules light is the way to go. One pagers, let's go. But I really do enjoy a crunchy game. I've had a lot of fun, for example, with Vampire the Masquerade, which is very, combat is super deadly, and so it almost never happens. It is not a combat system. It is a role-playing system. Never had the chance to run it, but the times that I've played it make me want to run it. And maybe that'll be ultimately a better fit for me. Or maybe Fabula Ultima, um, which I've played but never gotten to GM. So I wouldn't be able to tell you because I haven't played those. Um, but right off the bat, for the time being, it's still D&D.
So one of the major points from level one to now that when I first started creating it is I wanted to
Mhm.
ask people about their experiences in TTRPGs that I will never experience. It's like I will definitely be having like some white guys on the from level one to now from time to time, but learning about other people's experience and how their experience in the TTRPG space is what's really interesting to me. Um, so as a woman that is Mexican and native, what has been your specific experience in the TTRPG space, whether it be public or private games?
Yeah, so we touched a little bit on, because those are three entirely different things. Like, they really, really are.
Hmm.
We touched a little bit on, as a woman, it was hard to get someone to agree to play with me in the first place. Be like, but you're a girl. You know, when you're young
Hmm.
and teenage boys say, but you're a girl, you can't play with us. Like that's D&D isn't for girls. And I got that a lot before I just kind of like decided, all right, I'm gonna do it myself then. I
Hmm.
don't care. Um, and I'm gonna have more fun without you, you know? And so thankfully though, that was only an experience I had when I was young and still in my very traditional conservative hometown,
Hmm.
right? After moving to Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a melting pot. If you gave me any ethnicity, I could find somebody. Any country in the world, I could find you a citizen of that country. Any type of food in under 10 minutes. Um, Even like really obscure ones or where you wouldn't imagine finding somebody from that place here. They are here.
Hmm.
And that has been such a blessing. Uh, Now living in a place that is so diverse and so open minded and so just inviting to different. It doesn't matter how you are different because it does not matter. And that has been great in all of those senses. And so besides those bad experiences as a woman in when I was starting, right, in high school, I have not had that experience since. I've gotten very lucky. Going forward in my private games, I was the one again running the games. So I chose my tables. And I had the say of, I'm sorry, but I will not run a game for you. And that kind of power, to be able to do that led to me not having bad experiences because I am a woman. In the AP space, thankfully, the bubble of the TTRPG community that we reside in is very open and diverse and accepting, or at least trying to be,
Hmm.
right? And so I've been very lucky to not have had a bad experience being a woman now on in the AP space. Um, for I guess like my ethnicity and things like that. I love this question because even though it is on my bio across all of my social media, nobody has ever asked me about or commented on it has never come up the fact that I am part native. So this is the first time I get to talk about it a little bit, which is very nice. Um, I yeah, I'm Mexican. I'm native. For those of you listening who are a little curious, it is Yaqui from the Sonora area. But that has also shaped, whether you want it to or not, a little bit of not just when I am in games, but how I even approach them. Um, Thankfully, again, having the power to make my own tables has made it very easy to not have any bad experiences. And I know I am so, so, so lucky that when I hopped into the AP space and into the internet community of TTRPGs, to have hopped into and jumped into a very accepting and diverse bubble of the internet because I haven't had a bad experience with that either online.
Hmm.
Now, that is not having a bad experience is partly because it doesn't really come up. And that is both a good thing and a bad thing, I think. Um, I do feel sometimes, and a lot of the um, like BIPOC people in the space sort of feel sometimes that we get asked to be in a game because we are BIPOC and we are there to fill a quota, right? Oh, well, we're trying to be diverse. So we are asking you because you are BIPOC. And even though it's nice, oh, you're asking me to play in your game, you thought of me, great, but you want me to be in your game not because you like me as a person or you want me, the person, to be in your game. You want the BIPOC label. You want that in your game. And so there has been some of that, right? Whereas, like, hey, I thought I wanted to make a game that was like this themed, and I know you like that. So I thought it'd be so fun if you were at my table. That feels very different
Mhm.
from we don't have enough BIPOC people. Wait, I know one, right? It feels very different. Um, and so there's been some of that. And I know that it doesn't come from a bad place, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of people don't who are asking these questions and inviting these people don't realize that they are making that distinction and the way it makes us feel, because they're not doing it from a bad place. It's sort of, we are striving to be diverse, we are striving to do this good thing, and this is how we do it, right? um and so they are trying to do a good thing. It's just a lot of the times the wording or the way they go about it or their mentality sort of surrounding that isn't quite right. And it can sometimes be a little harmful
Mhm.
without intending to be harmful. But thankfully, no straight up bad experiences. And I know that I am very lucky in that. Also, because I am not, and I think part of the good and bad of why my native heritage hasn't come up as well. Part of it is because people are trying to be more accepting and it doesn't really matter, right? Which
Mhm.
is a good thing. Great. It shouldn't matter. We all play games. Love it. But it also might be because I don't necessarily look native. And I know that I don't. Do I have a lot of um I, people will guess my who don't know me will guess, and a lot of them land on like some sort of Hispanic, and they are absolutely right, and that is sort of where that ends, right? Um, and that sort of has its own things where I'm glad that it's not something that matters too much, but it is never acknowledged. And so that's also, it's good and bad for very different reasons.
Yeah, no,
But again, thankfully, no outright bad experiences.
that's good. And yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like what you were saying earlier. It's like some people cast BIPOC people or LGBTQI people because they are trying to hit a quota. And it's like when building a table, you need to have good chemistry. I mean, I haven't played in an AP, but it's one of those things
Mhm.
that constantly thinking about is like the idea of building up great chemistry, where it's like, oh, this white player will be perfect for this because this is what they like, or this white player will be good for this because this is what they like, or we need a comedic player, so we're going to go with this white player. But then when it comes to people that are BIPOC or LGBTQIA, they're like, oh, well, we'll just get one. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what kind of game they like. They'll just be like, oh, well, we just need, for a table of 5, we need 2 people to be BIPOC. So
Hmm.
we'll just get 2 and they're interchangeable. And it's just one of those things I've noticed. And I'm just like, not every BIPOC person is going to fit at every table based on the story, but there is going to be a BIPOC person that will fit that story perfectly.
Absolutely. I think what you said is totally right. Like, it starts with building a community. In your home game, doesn't really matter. You play with your friends and who is your immediate group of friends that can make it to your house.
Mhm.
Love it, right? But when you are doing something public facing, like an AP, which, yeah, should be a group of friends just having fun, but there is definitely so much more to that. Um, People will say, well, I don't know any. Well, work on building a community.
Mm-hmm.
Get to know some. There are so many, especially over the internet. It doesn't matter if you live in a place where um nobody there has ever seen a black person in their life, because there are places like that where it's just the demographic of the people that live there,
Oh yeah, being
right?
from Nebraska, 100%.
but but you're playing over the internet. You have
Mm-hmm.
access to every person who is on the internet. There are people. Work on building a community, on being inclusive, on being inviting. And then you are going to have entirely too many to choose from,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you are going to then be able to build a table where you say, hey, this is the kind of story you want to tell. Um, Here are the people that I think would do the story very well. And you're going to be surprised, like, oh, you didn't even have to try to be diverse and inclusive.
Yeah.
If those people are already part of your community, then they're going to, show up in your games. And it
Mm-hmm.
is no longer I'm trying to fill a quota. It is just my community includes everyone. And so do my games now. Because it just sort of happens that way. And that is how it's supposed to be.
Definitely. And it's like they don't have a problem knowing the personalities of other white creators.
Hmm.
So it's like just pay attention to what they post. Pay attention to if you follow more people that are BIPOC, so that way
Yeah.
you can experience just their random posts, not just the one post that they make that just happens to go viral or go in front of you. It's easier to understand what type of gaming that people like to do when you read their posts or you watch their actual plays that they're already in.
Yeah. And a lot of people will complain, well, like building community so hard. It really isn't. Again, I don't have very much time here um in this space, and all of my friends who, every time I scroll and I see somebody that I have like 50 people in common with,
Mm-hmm.
I'll look at their profile, and if they're also a creator, they make dice, they do what you do, they play games, they review them, whatever, I will follow them, right? And I follow people in the community who I think are interesting or do something that is interesting, or just seem really cool. And then they follow me back. And then we start liking each other's posts
Mm-hmm.
and silently supporting. And then here you are being interviewed by them, right? Eh, like very organically.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the way it sort of is supposed to be. It's not very hard. And if you are still surrounded um by only what you know and what you are comfortable with, and not even trying to go beyond that, at that point that is a personal problem. And
Mm-hmm.
it is not because there are enough of us, and it is not because it is hard, because it's not. You just have to not be a dick.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one is going to also kind of be along the same vein.
Okay.
But how can the TTRPG community be more accessible and inviting to people who are like native and Mexican? Like what can be done to make more people be like, I want to join that community if they haven't already?
Part of it, like you said, the same vein of making an effort. I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's what you said, and it is so true. If people can see that you are making an effort, right, that goes such a long way, because most people don't. And we are so used to people not making an effort. That when you are making an effort, even if you're struggling, we want to help you, right?
Mhm.
And I think something that is very important too, it's not just inviting these people to your table as a player because they might not feel comfortable maybe playing a character that relates to their culture because they don't know how it'll be received, right?
Mhm.
And it's important to let them lead a little bit more. So, for example, Hispanic Heritage Month, there is, I have been asked to, hey, I'm white, I have a channel, but I want to do something for Hispanic Heritage Month. Would you be willing to run a game? And you can choose your table, and I will produce it for you. Because I want this to be a space where that is inviting and accessible and comfortable, right? Um, and and that it fosters that also of being able to see yourself. So then people who are watching, right? It's like, oh, that's crazy. Their game is about um if you go native, right? If I ran a game based on the mythology and folklore of like the Yaqui tribe, I am running the game. And because I am running the game, I know how to do it in a way that is comfortable, safe, and
Mhm.
accessible for me, for people like me. And I would love to do that to a whole bunch of people that aren't native because that is how people learn. People learn when they're exposed to things,
Mhm.
right? If you're never exposed to it, if you never see anything about it, then you don't know anything about it. Um, and so being exposed to it and learning about it and educating yourself about it then leads you to be much more of a safe person and much more of an inviting person um, for others to then come as well, right? And so just I think it's something that a lot of people don't think about too much when they're like, well, we're diverse, we have, like we have people like this at our table. It's like, okay, but you are still in charge of the story, right? So invite them to speak, right? Having a seat at the table is great and all, but it is not enough when you are not also invited to speak.
Mhm.
And it is I think, a very important distinction um, that a lot of people don't realize is a distinction. And they think having you at the table is enough, right? But have you invited them to speak? Have you ever given them an opportunity to speak? Um, I am gearing up for a game that I can't say too much about right now, but we are taking people in history, and you can be whoever you want. A lot of the creators that are a part of this game have decided to choose someone from their own like culture, from where they are, from where they
Mhm.
are, where they're from. And it has, because they were given that freedom and that space to speak, I came up with options. I have a native character, I have like 5 Mexican characters that I'm thinking about, right? And so, given the opportunity to speak doesn't mean let me run a game necessarily, but it's give me the space to speak, give me the chance to speak. They said you can be whoever you want. They said we would actually love if you showcased, because it is a historical figure, we would love it
Mhm.
if you showcased somebody from your culture. We think that would be great. That is inviting me to speak, right? Because then I can showcase it to everybody else, and everybody else learns as well,
No, it sounds
right?
amazing, especially as like a history major. That sounds excited for that to come out.
Yeah, I'll let you know when that comes out. But yeah, so it can be as easy as, oh, Hispanic Heritage Month, would you be down to run a game? Um, or hey, like that. We are making characters who we want them to be representative of your culture because we want to learn more about it, because we want that story to be told,
Mhm.
right? Invite us to speak. Um, or even different types of game systems. Like, hey, like we are World D5 does a really great job of this. I know for they've had a couple of games where, oh, this one was made by a native. This one was made, um, this one was made in Mexico, and we are playing it in Spanish because that's the way it's meant to be played. Or this one is a Filipino game, and we're giving it a shot. So we got a Filipino DM, and you know, whoever wants to experience it and learn about it. And that is inviting when people seem genuinely interested, curious, when people give you the space to do it. That is inviting. When they say, "Hey, like I want to learn more. I think this is really interesting. Would you be up for this? Is this okay?" Right?
Mhm.
It's very different from just having you at a table. Because yes, I'm at the table, but if I don't feel like I can speak, I might as well not be here.
That's the last question that I had. Where can people find you? What are you currently working on that you can talk about?
Right. I am uh well, I guess first who I am. We should start with that. So hello. My name is Yuri, that is Yuri, pronouns she, they. You can go ahead and find me at Yuri and the Beast absolutely everywhere on the interwebs. Um, I am doing a lot of things all of the time. I need to slow down. I can't. I am enjoying myself entirely too much. And so the stuff that I can talk about, I do have a couple of ongoing things. I am, like you said, Quill, aka Kilikikiokili, over at Don't Kill My Character for superhero shenanigans, our Mutants and Masterminds campaign, who is a bird person from outer space, learning what it means not just to be on Earth, but what it means to be a hero. I am also, oh, and that is every other Wednesday. I believe on Tuesdays, I am very lucky because I live in LA to be able to be part of an in person in studio campaign. We are over at Happy Jack's RPG. I play Emily Vega, who is an artist in the Electric State RPG, which is an atomic punk road trip game. We are being chased by the government and robots while in the 80s. And it is insane. It is a lot of fun. It talks a lot about found family and what it means to, I guess, be found family and how much you would give up for somebody else. So it gets intense, yo. Um, I am also, I think this comes out every other Tuesday. I am Morwen Senature, a necromancer wizard high elf over at Somebody's Heroes, where we playing a version of D&D 5e. It is a multi-table campaign. Um, it is a lot of fun. It is a lot of political intrigue. She is not a very good person. So if you're into very gray characters and morally ambiguous, that's the girl for you. Um, I am doing always a lot of one shots and mini series over at my friends' channels. So you would have to go over to my socials for that. Unfortunately, there is a lot I cannot talk about, but I can say that 2026 is going to be a very, very big year because not only I'm not going to stop doing all the stuff I do live all the time, but there is so much pre-recorded stuff that is going to go live. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of me.
No, that's great, and I'll make sure to check out all of the socials and the links below. And want to thank you for coming in and joining. And it was a really great conversation.
No, thank you so much for inviting me to speak. Thank you so much for having me.
Before I go, I want to once again thank Yuri and the Beast for joining me. Make sure to follow them on their socials with the links provided below, and keep an eye out for the next episode of From Level 1 to Now, where I'll be having a conversation with Mike Underwood. Please like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss that interview. I want to thank you for watching, remind you to keep that glass half full, and have a great next game.